Yeah, 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 yeah. Waymaker. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Lord. All right. Woo! Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Yes, my God.
And something about knowing who he is. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. Man, he is so much to each and every one of us. And thank God for God being able to be everything that we need.
Amen.
From the passages that we read earlier, Exodus chapter 2, I want to use this thought today. Your failures have purpose. Your failures have purpose. Your failures have purpose. Let us pray. God, we thank you for being a way maker, a miracle worker. For many of us, you've kept promises that we didn't even think would come to pass. And for each of us, you've been light in darkness.
Yes, God. Thank you, Lord.
So thank you for being God.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, God, for allowing us to rise today in time, not in eternity, but allowing us an opportunity again to experience you here, to experience your love,
Yes, God.
your grace, your mercy, in a very tangible, earthly way. Thank you for those that sit before us and behind us, and
Yes, Lord.
on either side of us. And as we look at your word today, speak to us. Help us to know that our failures do have purpose.
Yes.
Help us, God, not to discount them, disregard them, but to know that they have purpose in our lives.
Yes, God.
God, I ask that you would forgive me of my sins and my transgressions, my iniquities, and allow me just to be an instrument that you have in your hand to have a conversation and an experience with us.
Yes, God.
This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Your failures have purpose. Your failures have purpose. I want to share a quote that many of you may have heard before. If not, for some, it may be a shock. For others who've heard it, you may say, yeah, I remember that. Quote, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot
That's right.
and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. End quote. These words were spoken by one who many consider to be the greatest NBA basketball player in history,
That's right.
Michael Jordan. Most remember him by all of the victories. Few remember that he failed multiple times. And I know that none of us like to even hear the word fail. None of us like to fail. In fact, when we experience failure, generally we try and either hide it, cover it up, or at least blame someone else for the failure that we've experienced. There's something about this thing called failure that we just don't seem to appreciate. In fact, we live in a culture where we even try to prevent our children from experiencing failure. Because we tend to associate failure with complete defeat.
Exactly.
We tend to see failure as something that denotes that we are completely defeated. And therefore, we even guard against allowing our children to experience something that could really help their lives. Failure. So we do things like have participation trophies for all the participants on the team. In our youth sporting events, everybody gets a trophy. Because we just don't want our young people to experience something that has caused us to even feel like, well, if I fail or if they fail, then it may completely destroy them or completely defeat them. So then we have first place, second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place, sixth place, seventh, eighth, and ninth place trophies. Also, young people don't experience something that we've interpreted as adults, something that means that, well, if I fail, then I'm completely defeated. So therefore, even today, we have more young people in school not earning grades, but getting good grades because mama and daddy have complained to teachers.
Come on, Pat.
You wonder why there's this epidemic in the nation's capital of young people not being prepared educationally, and how we'll just pass children along because we don't want them to experience something that's really going to help their lives.
Right.
Because of the way we as adults have interpreted failing.
Yes.
Because we associate failure with being completely defeated.
All right, Pastor.
So then we're more likely to not even acknowledge failures or keep failures a secret or cast blame on others when we have failures and when we experience failures. Therefore, it's the boss's fault that I didn't do well in my job. It's my spouse's fault that this thing fell apart. It's my child or my children's fault. Because if this would have happened or if that would have happened, mind or the system, and we try to cast blame because we look at failure the wrong way.
Yeah.
We think of failure as being completely defeated, whereas in actuality, failures have a purpose in life.
Yes.
God uses failures to help us learn life lessons that we may not have learned if we had succeeded immediately.
Yes.
Moses exemplifies this here in our text, because when we pull a page out of Moses' life, we see that he blew it big time. He has this monumental failure, but it does not necessarily mean he's completely defeated.
Yes.
Moses has an opportunity where he has a choice to succeed or fail, and he fails, but his failure is not the end of his story. Moses' life wasn't all over because he failed to properly handle a physical confrontation that was taking place between an Egyptian and a Hebrew. The writer tells us that Moses comes out one day and there's an Egyptian and a Hebrew in a physical confrontation. They're fighting, and what Moses does is he kills the Egyptian, buries his body, he blows it big time.
Yes.
He has an opportunity to mediate some sort of conflict. And rather than be a mediator, he becomes a murderer. But murderer is not the end of his story.
Come on, Pastor.
See, failures have purpose in our lives. And what we want to look at today is, what are some of those purposes that God intends for us to learn as a result of experiencing failure? Failing is not something that we just need to sweep under the carpet, because there's powerful purposes that are associated and tied to our failures in life. So let's look at Moses and see what lessons or what purposes that are to be learned from his failure that we could even apply to our own lives. Here, one of the first things we see, one of the first purposes we see of failure is that failure gives us the opportunity to expand our vision. Failure, that's why we shouldn't discount it. That's why we should not just disregard it and act like it didn't happen, or sweep it under the carpet and say, well, it's your fault, not my fault. No, failures give us the opportunity to expand our vision.
Amen.
Because let's look at verses 11 and 12. Really interesting here. It says, one day after Moses had grown up. Yeah, even grown-ups have feelings.
I know, right?
Thinking the same thing.
Young people, I know sometimes our parents can act like we ain't never done nothing wrong before.
Right.
And like, oh, we just, at 12, we thought like 50-year-olds. I know we can do that sometimes. As if we've never blown it as an adult. But here we see that Moses is grown up, and the text says he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people, looking this way and that, and seeing no one. He killed the Egyptian and hit him in the sand.
I know, right?
Now check this out. Check this out. Moses comes out one day, the writer tells us, and his people are working. And Moses notices that there is an Egyptian in a physical confrontation with one of the Israelites, one of the Hebrews, who were Moses' people, his own people. What Moses does is Moses looks this way,
Yeah.
Moses looks that way,
Right.
and feels like ain't nobody looking.
No.
And kills the Egyptian,
Right.
and Moses knows that he blew it so bad that he has to hide the body. He has to bury the body.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like us. When we fail, we don't want nobody to know. Because for some reason, we don't want people to think that we have failed in life.
Exactly.
That we've experienced, that we've made some bad decisions, we've made some mistakes, right? So usually we'll take on the behavior as Moses did. Moses kills the Egyptian and then buries the body. But what hurt Moses is that Moses' vision was limited.
Yeah.
The text says he looks this way and he looks that way. But what Moses does not do, and very often what we do, and it ends up causing us to fail, is Moses doesn't look up to God.
Oh, good.
He looks to see what human beings
Right.
are around.
Mm-hmm.
Because look. I want to make sure I look good around y'all.
Right. Right.
All right.
Who it doesn't count.
And therefore, when I tend to live my life according to other human beings that are around me and do not consider who is above me, I have a limited vision.
Yeah.
Failures give us the opportunity to expand our vision.
Yeah.
In other words, when I experience failure, it's not something that I ought to disregard or discount, but no, there's something in the lesson. There's something in the failure that I can learn from the failure. And very often what it is that I didn't look up to God. I was concerned about everybody else around me rather than the one who looks over me and keeps me and showers me with his love and his presence. I had a limited
Preach, Pastor, yes.
Yes, okay.
My vision was limited. Only concerned about those, how will I look around the rest of the people?
Yeah.
All right.
Rather than how will this look in the eyes
Of God. Yeah. Yeah.
of God.
Yeah.
And very often we go through life doing stuff that God ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yep, that's right, Pat.
Nothing to do with it. Because checking in with God may require exercising some patience. I mean, checking in with him might require me having to remove myself from this. It may require that I have to realign my thinking. And if I have to realign my thinking, what will they think about me?
Yeah.
All the while, we run around living life worrying about what other people think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Worrying about what would they say.
Right.
Listen. People are going to talk about you, period.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
It's a part of our fallen nature. It's a part of our nature.
Thank you, Pastor.
That's all. So,
As plain as can be.
yeah, it's as if we get surprised. Man, just people are being people.
Right.
Moses is concerned about the people that are watching rather than God is watching. Now, should I handle this confrontation the way people would handle it, or should I handle it the way God would handle it? So he kills the Egyptian and has to bury his body.
Right.
See, failures help us. Man, failing at marriage has been probably one of the best lessons I've ever learned.
Me too.
Yes, sir. Me too.
Or 3.
Won't do it again.
Because it has caused me to expand my vision about what it means to be a husband, what it means to be a spouse. Where initially my vision was limited and restricted. But now, as a result of experiencing that failure, it has caused me to expand my vision.
Yeah.
Because failures have a purpose. Failures have a purpose. Failures help us expand our vision. But not only is one of the purposes of failure. See, if we don't experience failure, if we don't let our kids fail, so often parents will come to me and say, well, what can my child do to get a better grade in your class? I say, work harder. And that's not, and I'm not trying to be facetious or insulting or anything like that. It's like, well, why did you give my child? I didn't give your child anything. I recorded what your child produced.
Yes.
And we go, man, we go marching up to school.
No, right.
Why my child get a C? Well, maybe they did average work. Well, you know what? No. If I need to talk to the principal.
Right.
Come on, man, that's why we have all these, not the only reason we have all these problems over in the nation's capital.
Yeah.
with this whole educational system.
Yes.
Of passing students along.
Yes.
And they're not ready because
That's
mama
right.
and daddy and grandmama and granddaddy and neighbors and just everybody went up to the school and y'all gonna raise holy H-E-L-L at the school.
All right.
And the child is on a D level,
I know.
but you want them to have a B.
Okay.
And then they're not ready. They're not equipped. Let them fail a few times.
All right, Pastor.
Start snatching some stuff from them failing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna sit up in the house and you bringing home D's and F's, but you got tablets and
Right.
self. No. There was a time. I can't say that.
Yeah, well, don't let him see.
Where one of my children, the only thing he had was a bed. A bed. Didn't even have a door to the room.
I know that's right. See what I'm saying?
Because if you're going to fail, right, and think that you'll have privileges,
That's right.
Right.
Come on. That's right. Right. Come on now.
and see, we're always very unfair to this current generation.
Yeah.
And we talk about they whine and they weak and they can't handle it because we won't let them fail.
Come on now.
Because we will not allow them to experience the results of failure does not mean complete defeat.
No, it doesn't.
What it is, it's an opportunity for me to learn a very valuable lesson. And one of those lessons is that my vision needs to expand.
Yeah.
So maybe I was coming home not doing any homework. But if I expand my vision, maybe I need to come home and do an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moses needs to expand his vision. The second thing, though, second purpose of failure. And man, this is, Failure gives us the opportunity to expand our vision, but it also gives us the opportunity to experience development, to experience growth and development. See, when we experience failure, it gives us the opportunity to grow from that which we failed in.
Yes.
But if I'm just going to quickly ignore and quickly just disregard and hide and act like it didn't happen, it's hard for me to experience growth and development from it.
Yes.
In fact, what can very often happen is failure can cause people to freeze now. And say, well, you know what? I failed, so I'm not going to
Exactly.
take a risk. Can't take another risk because I failed.
Yeah.
That's when if you internalize experiencing failure as complete defeat, failure will cause you to live a life where you are paralyzed.
Yeah.
And just stand on the sidelines of life and be afraid to engage in. Well, let's look at it here. Because it's kind of like, very often when people experience failed relationships, then they say, well,
Yeah. That's it.
I'm through. No, maybe just that Negro was wrong. Maybe that's just the wrong person. Maybe y'all just wasn't good together. But it doesn't mean that I disregard and say that, you know what, I'm finished now with relationship.
Yes.
No, that was just a bad relationship.
Preach, Pastor.
That's right.
Because sometimes when we've experienced failure, we freeze, and no longer are we going to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. But let's look at this thing here, because this is something interesting where a purpose of failure is to help us to experience development and to experience growth. Because check this out, verses 13 and 14. Blew my mind. The next day, he went out and he saw two Hebrews fighting. Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?
Right.
Now check this out. This is what the man said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?
I know, right?
Then Moses was afraid
Right.
and thought, what I did must have become known. Moses is grown,
Right.
right? One day, he sees an Egyptian and a Hebrew fighting, kills the Egyptian, and buries his body.
Right.
The next day, he encounters a very similar situation.
Right.
He comes out and he sees two Hebrews fighting. First day was an Egyptian and a Hebrew,
Right.
right? He blew it. He messed it up. Kills the Egyptian, buries the body. failed. He didn't handle it right. God says, okay, that's cool. I'm going to give you another chance tomorrow.
All right. He didn't pay attention to that, did he?
The next day, he has an opportunity like that which he experienced the day before.
Right.
Now get this. Because this is critical. Yo, if there's nothing else that you remember or that you embrace and walk with, remember this. What you do today influences, shapes, and helps mold your tomorrow.
All right. Yes.
I like that.
All right.
Yes.
Your actions today have some significance on what you will experience tomorrow.
All right.
See, very often we don't think that our actions influence what's going to happen the next day.
Right.
All right, let me see. Let's see. If too often we play the short game and not the long game.
Yes.
All right, too often we're just looking at the immediate and not the long game, the infinite. Too often we end up playing a short game and life is really a long game. So we'll do stuff today not thinking that what I'm doing today is going to have some impact and influence and is going to have some sort of influence on tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. For young people, if I don't study today,
Here we go. Pop quiz.
and tomorrow I have a test, my actions from today are going to influence tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not so, young people. The way I treat people today is going to shape and have some influence and some effect on my tomorrow.
Yes.
If I spend all my money today, when tomorrow comes,
I'll be broke.
I can't be surprised that I'm broke. I can't be surprised that when something come up, it's like, uh-oh. Because what I do today has some impact. Moses blows it the day before
Ooh-wee.
and thinks it's over.
Right, I know.
The very next day, that same kind of situation comes up. And now the guy, as he confronts them, they say to him, well, wait a minute.
I know, right?
Who made you ruler? And see, this is the thing that we very often fear as human beings. Other people judging us.
Right.
They say, who made you ruler over us? You gonna kill us? Like you did the dude yesterday?
Buried over there.
So Moses, as a result of that, lives in this fear now. He's, it must have become known.
Right.
My failure must have become known because now people are judging me. Newsflash. Everybody fails. Everyone fails at something. So while I'm worried about, well, they gonna try, they done failed. They've had failures in life. And if I allow myself to live my life hiding from my failures and paralyzed and not acknowledge, see, failure gives me the opportunity to experience development. Because if I bury them, I don't grow. See, very often we tend to view failure as complete defeat rather than it was a failure. Just failed. Okay, gives me opportunity to expand my vision. Maybe next time I ought to include God. Gives me opportunity to develop, because you know what? Okay, yeah, this is what I did, but you know what? Maybe I need to do more. Or maybe I need to do something differently. Gives me, so Moses doesn't kill either Hebrew. He understands killing doesn't solve it. Maybe a conversation will help. But here's the final thing about failure, and I know we don't like it. I know we don't see it as complete defeat. Don't look at it that way. Look at it as, okay, it's an experience. Now I need to expand my vision. Okay, I need to experience development. So I need to grow and develop in that area. Okay, maybe I need to put in more work and grow and develop, because get this, I'm going to have another opportunity. Yeah. It's gonna come around again. Final thing though about failures, because failures do have purpose. Failures not only give us opportunity to expand our vision, not only do they give us the opportunity to experience development, but also failures give us the opportunity to embrace perseverance. See, there's something about having failed at something that if I do not allow it to paralyze me,
Yes.
it will help me become stronger.
Yes.
If I take the lesson and don't just lay it to the side and act like it did, it'll help me become stronger.
Yes, it will.
Because I failed.
Yeah.
I know that's crazy. But because I experienced failure, it gives me the opportunity to experience and to embrace a characteristic that is necessary for success, and that's perseverance.
Yeah.
Because let's look at verses 15 through 17. Let's see. It says, when Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. That's a natural response. Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian. Now check this out, where he sat down by a well. Now check this out, because a priest of Midian had 7 daughters. And the daughters came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away. But Moses got up and came to the rescue and watered their flock. Look at the progression in Moses' life.
Yeah.
after having failed big time. He comes out, sees an Egyptian and a Hebrew fighting, kills the Egyptian, buries the body. Next day comes out, 2 Hebrews in a confrontation. He has a conversation with them. Pharaoh finds out what Moses has done, and Pharaoh's trying to kill Moses. Moses leaves Egypt, goes to Midian, and guess what? Opportunity comes up again. 7 daughters are at a well trying to get water so that they can go home and feed their father's flock. Some shepherds come up, start harassing the women, and starts pushing them away. Moses witnesses that, gets up from where he is, and takes care of the priest's daughters, rescues them, and waters the flock. Because Moses has grown from his failure. See, he doesn't ignore it. He doesn't push it to the side. He doesn't act like it didn't happen. But he grows and he develops and realizes something, that in order for me to get better at this and to succeed and have some success, I have to persevere.
Yes.
Pharaoh is trying to kill him. He leaves Egypt, sits down at a well in Midian. All of a sudden, these 7 women come up. They got water jars so that they can get water, take it back, and feed their father's flock. Some shepherds come up, start harassing them. Moses is like, hold on. Drives them away and feeds the flock. See, when we fail, if we're not careful, experiencing failure will cause us to freeze in life. And say, you know what, I'm not gonna try again. Because I failed before. I failed in that area. I took that test, but I failed this, so I'm not taking the test anymore. No, you failed it that first time.
Yeah.
Grow, develop, study harder,
That's
take it again.
Amen. Amen.
That's right.
I hear these hands.
That's right.
See, we cannot allow failures to paralyze us. Failures have purpose. And one of the purposes is that we will embrace perseverance.
Yes.
That I'll learn that, you know what? That was a failure. But next time I'm coming back stronger. I'm working harder. I'm developing more. I'm going to be more tenacious, more vociferous, more vehement in my attack. Yeah, you may have gotten me the first time.
Go ahead, Pastor.
But this time, I'm coming back with vengeance. Because I understand something about failure. That it has a purpose in life.
Yes.
And part of the purposes are to expand my vision, to help me experience development, but also to embrace perseverance. Because when we quit, when we give up, just because we fail, we run the risk of not experiencing success that may have been right around the corner.
Yes.
But I quit. I got afraid. I got scared because I failed the first time. I failed the second time. I failed the third time. So if you fail the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, get back up, dust yourself off, and keep pressing forward.
Yes.
Because it's perseverance that helps us overcome look, there are going to be obstacles in our lives.
Yeah.
There are going to be obstacles and opposition. See, you got to wake up in the morning knowing that there's going to be some sort of force opposing you today.
Yes.
Might be crazy people at work. Might be foolish people on the subway. But there's going to be some sort of force that's going to oppose you.
Yes.
There are going to be obstacles that you have to have God with you to help overcome. But there's going to be opposition also. Pharaoh had it in his mind that I need to kill Moses. Mm-hmm. Moses realizes that my failure at this first experience doesn't mean that my life is completely defeated.
Yes.
So he's growing from it.
Yes.
There's a purpose behind failing. And the final purpose is that I will exercise, that I'll embrace and exercise perseverance. Because perseverance helps us experience success. Mm-hmm. One of our very household items, WD-40.
Love it.
Probably in most households in America.
Yeah.
Maybe even across the world.
In the car too. Mm-hmm.
The WD stands for water displacement. Two scientists from Detroit were trying to figure out a formula to create a substance that will displace and move water. So we use this thing when we have things that are rusty and corroded. Together we spray this stuff on it. Helps to loosen up the corrosion and the rust so that we can untighten bolts that have been together for years and have developed corrosion. We use it for, I used it not too long ago because some of the doors in our house were squeaking. So you spray this stuff on it and it just does wonders. The W is for water. The D is for displacement. The 40 is for the number of failed times.
Yes.
That they could not. It took 39 failures.
That's what I'm talking about.
For these two gentlemen, to come up with the right formula.
Yes.
For them to create a substance that will displace water. Mm-hmm. Had they given up?
No.
At number 2.
I know, right?
Or 3.
Yeah.
Or 4.
How about that?
But 39 failures.
That's awesome.
And on the 40th,
Yeah.
they got it right.
Yes.
And said, guess what we're going to call this? WD-40.
Hey, okay. And there you have it.
Because they were willing to persevere through the difficulties. Another household item.
Uh-oh, here we go. This man is busy.
409. Most of us use it.
Right.
A nice multi-purpose cleaner. And we can use, they've gone from just a general cleaner to a window and a mirror cleaner, a carpet cleaner, because it took them 408 failures.
Good. Really?
They failed 408 times
Yes.
to come up with the right solution.
That's
Many of us, we failed twice.
That's it.
It's like, you know what? That's it. I'm finished.
I'm out.
I'm through.
Right.
I can't pass that test.
Nope.
I don't care how many times. Get up,
Yeah.
dust yourself off,
Come on now.
and keep going. Doesn't matter how many times you fail. Get up, dust yourself off, expand your vision, experience development, learn from it, and remember that I'm going to have to be persistent, and I'll have to persevere, and it doesn't matter how many times I fail, I'm going to keep moving forward. It doesn't matter how many times the business plan failed. If it failed that time, you know what that means? That it wasn't the right
That's right.
thing to do.
That's right.
But I don't stop. I don't give up. I don't quit. Because failures have purpose in
Thank you,
life.
God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
And when we will stop hiding from them and hiding them and stop looking at them the wrong way.
Yeah.
So what, I got fired?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I got fired. I'm terminated. I was looking for a job when I found that one. That's all. So I get up
Like it anyway.
and start looking for another.
Thank you, Pastor.
I don't give up on that which I believe in my heart just because I failed.
Yes.
Just because I failed, it doesn't mean complete defeat. It doesn't mean that my life is over. It doesn't mean that, you know what, I'm just another failure. And when we allow our children to experience failure, guess what? They get the opportunity to enlarge and expand their vision.
Yeah.
They get the opportunity to experience development and growth. And then they understand what it means to be persistent and to persevere. But if we continue to shield them from experiencing difficulty,
Yeah.
if we continue to, you know what, I don't want them to fail the class, so I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna tell the teacher, get the teacher a piece of my mind and get the grade changed. But maybe they need to read the book.
Okay, imagine that.
Maybe they need to work harder. That develops perseverance. But when we look at failure as just complete defeat, I can understand why we freeze or why we try and hide. My brother, my sister, failures have purpose. They have purpose in life. Failed relationships have a purpose in life.
Yes, thank you, God.
To help us learn how to expand, enlarge, to grow and to develop, to become more persistent. Perhaps there's someone here today, if you would be so kind as to rest on your feet.